TC Taylor is the newest head coach of Jackson State, and I think this was always in the plans. Oh yeah, it's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on the journey with me, making Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Do not forget the S on the end. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks, the gift from the heart. A gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite, and you can order with complete confidence today, knowing that you are ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that extra $40 off your order. And it's already 50% off right now, so go ahead and hurry to the website. Now I want to talk about TC Taylor because he is the newest head coach of Jackson State. This is really no surprise, but I'm going to tell you what. I think this move was always in the plans. I think they always kind of knew that TC Taylor could be, I'm not going to say would be, but could be the replacement for Deion Sanders. Now, TC Taylor is one of, I think, if not few, the only actually, I think he's the only holdover from the last staff. TC Taylor was held over by Deion Sanders, not because he's a Jackson State alum coaching at Jackson State. I believe it's because Sanders saw something special in him. I think it's because Ashley Robinson saw something special in him. And what they saw special in Taylor is future head coach. In theater, there's understudies, right? So if the actor can't go for whatever reason, if he can't perform, then the understudy has to be ready to assume that role immediately, and it has to be seamless. And I think that's exactly what TC Taylor was. If for whatever reason Deion Sanders were to leave quickly, and that's what happened, TC Taylor was the understudy. He was the guy who was prepared to take over. And then when Deion Sanders does leave, TC takes over. I don't think it's a coincidence that Deion said, that's the guy I want to replace me in his speech about leaving. And I don't think this is something that Prime just realized. I think this is something that he knew for a while. And maybe in those 2.5, 3 years that he was there, he was proven right, and now it can go into action. So this doesn't mean that he was planning to leave, but if whatever, let's call it a contingency plan, right? Contingency plans aren't meant for that's what we think is going to happen, but it's just in case this does happen, we already know what we're going to do. We already knew who TC was. We already knew what he was about, so we knew we were going to take him in, and that's exactly what happened. Now, we'll see if they pick the right guy. Right, we'll see what kind of head coach TC Taylor is in the next couple of years. But there was a lot of names thrown into the hat, and I think stylistically, they picked the right guy, right? So they might not have picked, the jury is out on whether or not they picked the right person, but they picked the right style. Because when I was hearing names thrown out for the Jackson State coaching position, it was a mix of traditional coaches and a mix of former player coaches, right? Like more so celebrity coaches, big name coaches. I'm glad they didn't go with the big name route. If Jackson State would have went with the big name route, to me, it would have came off a bit thirsty. To me, it would have came off like, well, Prime did X, Y, and Z. Let's go right back to that. The match don't burn the second time. It doesn't burn the same. It's no one size fit all type of situation. You look at Eddie George. Eddie George is on the hot seat. Eddie George is a former NFL player who in Tennessee is a legend. And yet he still has not put together the greatest of seasons. It's not a one size fits all. So yes, do I think Ray Lewis could have came in? He could have galvanized people. He could have recruited people. Yeah. Do I think Ed Reed could have done it? Yes. I think Ed Reed is very underrated for, I mean, I guess I have no proof, but I don't think people, I might be in a minority when it comes to how good of a recruiter and how good of a coach I think Ed Reed would be. Specifically the recruiter. I think a lot of people think he'd be a good coach, but as a recruiter, I don't think a lot of people talk about how good I think he could be. But at the same time, I'm not trying to go to that pool. I'm still an advocate for both of those guys getting HBCU positions, because I think it would be good for a variety of schools. But this school, who just did it, It looks like you're chasing something. It looks like you're trying to get that big name. I need prime again. But everybody ain't prime, and ain't many primes. And I'm not just talking about Hall of Famers. There's a lot more that goes into Deion Sanders and what galvanizes and what attracts him to other people, right? So going to get a big name doesn't mean that you're going to get that same prime effect, but you're clearly chasing it by going for that. And it's no disrespect to the X's and O's, like the mindset and the ability to coach of former players. I don't know if Lewis or Reed would have been good coaches. I don't know, and I'm not saying they wouldn't have been. But stylistically, I think you needed a traditional coach, because even if those guys were good coaches, you're kind of in the same position to where 2 years later, 2 years into the deal, people are coming knocking. If any star NFL player proves himself to be a really good coach at a smaller school, these other schools are coming knocking, period. If they prove they can recruit, they're coming knocking, period. So now you put him in a situation where 2-3 years down the line of success, University of Miami comes calling. Now he has to make a decision. With all due respect, TC Taylor ain't in that position. He isn't. He's Jackson State true and true. He's a traditional coach, and traditional coaches, they don't get that eye as quickly. It takes more for them. You know, you look at Willie Simmons. Willie Simmons started getting love probably about 5-6 years into his coaching journey. I can't remember how long specifically he was at PV, but it took a while. It took a long while before he even started getting a little bit of a buzz. And he's a great coach. CC Taylor is Jackson State true and true. I guess Coach Robinson ain't going to be able to say he ain't swat. He might Obama bro hug him at the end of the game and be all love, right? But traditional coaches should give a little bit more stability than a big name coach. I don't think you'll have that. Will he leave? That narrative won't be around. It won't. TC Taylor is comfortably the Jackson State head coach, and I think they made the right stylistic decision, and I don't think it's a surprise. They knew they were going to do something like this. Now, going forward, we're going to continue talking about this hire, and I'm going to talk about what I believe is a unique opportunity that Taylor has by getting this job in the way he does. Is it going to be complete continuity? No, but yeah, it'll be just a little bit. Before I get into that, however, I want to tell you about omahasteaks.com. See, Omaha Steaks is the #1 place if you enjoy getting on the grill, if you enjoy having just a really nice dinner, but not having to go out for it. Like sometimes we want to have really nice things in the house, right? A nice dinner, a nice steak, a nice, get some nice vegetables next to it. Oh my gosh. And when you look at this graphic, it says $30 off. But right now, Omaha Steaks says, you know what? That ain't enough. That ain't enough for the supporters of us. We're going to give you $40 off, and it's already 50% off. So when I look at Omaha Steaks, I sit there and I think about all of the great times. I sit back and I reflect. Steaks are just one of those beautiful things for me, and Omaha Steaks are the best providers of those. 5 generations. 5 generations, that's unmatched quality, and that's unmatched dedication. Make sure you go to omahasteaks.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and get $40 off of all of their choices that are already 50% off. You're getting extra deals. Yes, you can combine them. Some of these places don't allow you to. Omaha Steaks does. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day. Every day. For your second listen of the day, make sure you're checking out Peter Bukowski on Locked on Sports Today, bringing in local experts to break down the national stories. He is the guy. Much appreciation to him. You can get this wherever you listen to your podcast, and you might catch me there from time to time. Who knows the next time I'll be on Locked on Sports Today. But let's continue talking about TC Taylor, because I think that TC Taylor has been presented with a unique opportunity. This is a unique opportunity for Taylor because he doesn't have complete continuity, but he has enough to where he really, I think this is an opportunity you see more so in professional sports, right? No continuity on the coaching staff, in my opinion. Like, yeah, you might have a couple, but not really. I know Deion said a lot of the coaching staff is going to stay. No, you took them, a lot of them went to Colorado with you. No. It'd be slight continuity on the coaching staff, maybe, if Taylor decides he wants that. But I feel like enough people have left to where Taylor can really create a culture of his own in this coaching staff. But then the players, it's a whole lot of them. The coaches are still there. When I think of in-house, promotions, I think of OC, DC. Those are the kind of people I think get elevated. And I especially think of the coaching staff being intact. Maybe a couple of people leave, but the coaching staff is intact. The offensive coordinator is gone. The defensive coordinator is gone. Mike Zimmer is gone for whatever he did. I don't really know what exactly he did. I think he was like a defensive analyst or something. I don't know. But he left too, right? And then also the tight ends coach is gone. These are all major assets. I know a tight ends coach leaving feels like what, but this is the same tight ends coach that helped Kyle Pitts develop into a top 5, top 10 pick. So this is a big name, and he's gone. Everybody's gone. So I thought they weren't going to go in-house after that. I thought TC Taylor wasn't going to get that job. I know I said in the first segment it wasn't a surprise, but at the same time, once all of these things started stacking up, I became doubtful. I didn't think it was going to happen this way. And of course it did, but had me questioning whether or not they were going to go in-house. Had me questioning whether or not they should go in-house. But then I saw the introduction video. Once I saw the introduction video of everybody just cheering on Taylor getting a job and everybody just surrounding him in the love and the support that he got immediately, I kind of knew. I was like, you know what? I think this might have been the right choice. He might have had the right choice to galvanize the troops. So this is the unique opportunity. OC gone. DC gone. You can build whatever you want. Whatever you want it to look like, it's on you. You can build your own culture while using a team that you kind of helped build to support that. I think you should be able to retain talent, right? I think that the wide receiver talent should be able to stay. You look at Kevin Coleman. I really think there's a better chance of Kevin Coleman staying. I haven't heard much buzz about whether or not he stays or leaves. How about a wide receiver, a former quarterback and wide receiver staying on as the head coach? That should help your recruiting. So that's what I mean. Yes, the coaching staff has been relatively dismantled. But now you have Coach Taylor coming in, and he's a former quarterback, a former wide receiver. He knows how he wants his offense to be ran, and now he can make it in his own image. As a former quarterback and wide receiver, I'm sure that he knows the type of offense that he would like. And it might not look like this year's Jackson State, but it'll look like whatever he wants it to be because he can make those type of decisions. But also, he's not just coming in saying, you got to fit here. You got to fit here. No, he knows the strengths and weaknesses of these players because he's helped molded them. He's helped molded them. He's helped be a catalyst for the offense. Now he gets to make the offense in his own image. And I love it because this is kind of similar to what Bubba McDaniel had to do at Prairie View. And they had a relatively solid season. They were close to being a SWAC championship, have a SWAC championship appearance. And now TC Taylor gets to be in that same situation. They have built up a roster at Jackson State. And I don't think they're going to have much upheaval. I think they got the right guy if you want to keep talent on the roster. Right now, we just got to get to the X's and O's part. That's it. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Watching Jackson State surround and show so much love to TC Taylor, it let me know they already got the back. Coaches are replaceable. Vibes aren't. Auras are difficult to really predict. Connections are hard to really get. These things are difficult to really know how it's going to happen. TC Taylor stepped in there, and I already know he has the aura. He already has the vibes. He already has the connections. Everything that you need to make sure the locker room is behind you, he already has. And that is going to be a great start to the 2023 season because he's going to be the newest Jackson State head coach. As we move forward on today's episode of Locked on HBCU, we're going to be talking about Jada Byers and his Harlon Hill trophy. I think that he deserves it, but I think there's one thing that might keep him from it, and I'm going to tell you about all of that as we continue rolling with the episode. But first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. Yes, BetOnline, our favorite sports wagering website, because you want to get your parlay on. They got it right there at BetOnline. You want to get your straight up bets. They got it on BetOnline. You want to bet on the spread. They got it on BetOnline. You want football, basketball, college, and pro. You want soccer. They have all of that on BetOnline. The most thorough, the most versatile, the fastest, the easiest. BetOnline is everything you could possibly need, just all wrapped up into one website. That's BetOnline. And they're going to give you the news to make sure that you are educated, because smart bets are better bets. I can go out there and bet on anything in the world, but I'd rather bet on the things that I know, and BetOnline helps that become a reality. So make sure you go to BetOnline, the fastest, the easiest, the most thorough, the absolute best sports wagering website, BetOnline, where the game starts. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked on HBCU, shout out to all my segment 3 folks. Now, I want to talk about Jada Byers. We're switching gears. We're going to go over to Jada Byers and his Harlon Hill candidacy. To me, he should be the Harlon Hill award winner. That's me, and obviously I'm biased. but to me, he should be the Harlon Hill Award winner. It's the only thing missing from his trophy shelf this year. The only thing. All-American, Virginia Union record holder, CIAA Player of the Year, everything. He's done it all. He's done it all this year, right? The only thing missing, Willie Lanier Award winner for the best collegiate player in the state of Virginia. He's done it all. What else is there to prove? What else is there to gain? The only thing there is to gain is the D2 MVP. Everything else, he's done. Everything else. Let's go down the checklist again. This year, Jada Byers has been the best collegiate player in the state of Virginia. He set Virginia Union records. He's a CIAA Player of the Year. He's a first-team All-American. The only thing missing to get it to a 5 is the Harlon Hill Award. The only thing missing is for him to be the D2 MVP. And I think he deserves it. I'm going to tell you the only thing that could keep it away from him is quarterback bias. But let's get into the opponents, right? Who is he going against for this award? Every region has 2 nominees, except for, I don't want to say Virginia for some reason, but except for Region 3, right? Region 3 has 3 players. I don't know what that's about. But you have Tyson Bagent, quarterback, Jared Bowie, wide receiver, Mario Anderson, running back, Jada Byers, running back, Caleb Murphy, defensive end, TJ Davis, quarterback, TJ Cole, running back, Brandon Alt, quarterback, and John Machada, I think that's how you say it, Matacha, I don't know, but he's a quarterback, and he's one of the guys that I want to highlight. But first and foremost, TJ Cole and Mario Anderson can't get it. If either one of those players gets that award over Jada Byers, I might lose it. Because you can't tell me there's a running back who has had a better season than him. You can't tell me that. It's not true. It's just not true. Those running backs, you could argue that Jada Byers had the best season by a running back in all of college football. I'm not talking D2. I'm not talking FCS. I'm not talking D1. I'm talking about every single subdivision. You could argue that Jada Byers had the best season. No running back had more yards than him, period. No running back had more rushing yards than Jada Byers. And I don't care what school you go to. Go to the biggest school you can think of. Let's go to the college football playoffs. Not Georgia, not TCU, not Alabama. Oh, he ain't in it, thank God. But they ain't in it. But not Ohio State, not Michigan. None of them. And Michigan had a Heisman candidate on their team. None of them had a better season than Jada Byers. So if a D2 running back wins this award over Byers, it's going to be a hard one for you really to say makes sense. Like, let's be for real, okay? Let's just be a little bit serious, and let's be biased. Let's be objective. Objectively speaking, I don't think anybody on that list competes with Jada Byers outside of the quarterback position. And there's 2 specifically. But I mean, it's quarterback bias. At the end of the day, they are the most important players on the field. I get it. But I think Byers is the one, man. That's just me. I think Byers is the one. A non-quarterback has not won this award since 2013. So you already got that against him when you talk about quarterback bias. And then also, the 2 quarterbacks who I want to put against him have played 15 games apiece. Byers only played 11. That's going to hurt him. Not only did he not play in a conference championship game, he only played in 1 playoff game. That's going to hurt. And honestly, if he would have got to the conference championship, he probably would have hit 2,000. This is hard. This is hard because not only is it quarterback bias, they have a whole bunch of yards, a whole bunch of touchdowns. They have great seasons, nearly 5,000 yards for both of them. And, over 40 touchdowns. These are great years, but they did it in 15 games as opposed to 11. And I feel like if Byers would have played 13 games, 14 games, I don't think this is a question because he's being well over 2,000 at that point. He already could have hit it if they wasn't in a couple of blowouts. Like games, they were blowing out the opponent. And if they would have known this was a possibility, he could have got 40 yards more in 2 different games. He really could have, but they didn't run him like that because it was a blowout. Now, if they would have known, if it was later in the season, and, oh, yeah, this dude is on fire, he might be able to hit 2K, I think they would have done it. He was only 80 yards away. So with this, it's going to come down to this. For the Harlon Hill candidacy, if Jada Byers wins the Harlon Hill Award for the D2 MVP, over these two quarterbacks who have had really good seasons is going to mean that the voters prioritize per game stats over cumulative stats. Because cumulative stats doesn't matter that the quarterbacks played 4 more games than Byers. They got 4,500 yards. One got like 50 touchdowns. But Jada Byers had a better season than every collegiate running back this year, and he did it in only 11 games. On a per-game basis, it's untouchable. He has more all-purpose yards than anybody, and that includes players who played more games. I think that Jada Byers should be the Harlon Hill Award winner. However, I understand how valuable a quarterback is, and I understand that bias might take that award away from him. And I wouldn't even say he's snubbed, but I do think he should have been the guy. And that's our episode. I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every day. Now we're finally going to get to that elusive press conference on tomorrow's episode because I've been promising it, but I felt like we kept having conversations that came up that superseded it. But now we're going to get to it on Thursday as we continue talking about the Celebration Bowl. Let's get back to it because it is the HBCU Super Bowl between North Carolina Central and Jackson State. For your second listen of the day, make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports Today wherever you get your podcast. Matter of fact, just stay on this app right here and just switch over when I'm done talking. But let me finish, all right? So in the meantime, in between time, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every day. Till next time we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.